my colleagues, and after that I will give you a stand up. Yeah, thank you very much.
Sir, can you give us just a short statement?
Sorry.
kryssar som har från andra EU-länder. Är det inte ett problem att det inte finns gemensamt agerande? Samtidigt är det väldigt bra att fler institutioner kan komma till rörande ett annat än som förra. Sorry for the rush of statement. Good afternoon. Could you give a short statement, please?
Yes.
Please. One question on the visa ban against Russian citizens. Please, what are your expectations of today's meeting?
I'm very much looking forward because I'm just coming from Bled Strategic Forum where we had a great platform of 2,000 people, many ministers, prime ministers, the Madam President of the European Commission. We discussed the consequences of the war in Ukraine, also the reform of energy market, all the challenges, the same challenges we will be discussing this afternoon with Africa, with the war in Ukraine, on tourist visas. So we have a lot of topics on the table. As you asked me about the discussion on the tourist visas, I can just say that I'm looking forward to the discussion. Slovenia will, as so far, align to the EU measures, if that will be a common decision, but we don't have yet a governmental decision. And I am reserved to the ban on tourist visas, because we might harm citizens that also want to flee from the Russian regime. But I don't say about the facilitation on visa. This is one thing where we are more flexible to discuss, let's see how the discussion will go. The facilitation, if we discuss, that would be my proposal, was also my proposal to the government in Slovenia. Thank you very much.
Could you stay? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, before, allow me to express my deep condolences to the people of Pakistan. They are facing a massive flood. The news that are coming on the last hour shows that more than 1,000 people have died as consequences of this flood, who has been covering with water half of the surface of such a big country. This is another climate alteration, but I want to express the European Union concern and solidarity and our ability to support Pakistan as much as we can through our civil protection mechanism. And going back to the council work, after the defense ministers, we are going to have the foreign affairs ministers. We are going to talk about Ukraine. That's unavoidable. We have been talking about Ukraine from the military point of view, our support to their efforts. Now we are going to talk about more from the political point of view. What's happening, which is the position of Russia, what can we do in order to stop this war? Because the situation in the ground remains very, very tense. The Ukrainians are taking the military initiative. The war continues. There are also figures about the number of casualties. The cost, the material, human cost for Ukraine is immense, and we have to make all efforts in order to stop this war. But as far as the war continues, we have to continue supporting Ukraine as much as needed and as long as needed. But this war has also consequences, geopolitical consequences for the whole world. And the agreement that has been brokered by the United Nations has allowed millions of tons of grain going out of Ukraine. The first ship arrived to Djibouti, and in the Horn of Africa it will be a big relief. But all over the world, and especially in the emerging countries, a triple crisis is looming: a financial crisis, an energy crisis, and a food crisis. And it's going to have very bad consequences for the stability of many parts of the world. So we have to continue not only supporting Ukraine, but being ready to deploy efforts, especially in Africa. And Africa will be the first point of the agenda of this Foreign Affairs Council.
What's the way forward for the tourist visa ban on Russian citizens?
This is something that will have to be discussed. As you know, this is an informal council. No decision can be taken, but a clear political orientation, I am sure, will come from it. The positions are different. They are divergent positions. Some members want a complete ban, others want just to work on the frame of the current visa facilitation ban. I cannot advance the final result, but I am sure that we will be able to look for a balanced approach to this problem. Being more selective, but let's see what I cannot anticipate the result of the discussion of my colleagues.
Which further steps will the Russian isolation, political and economical?
Sorry?
Russian isolation, political and economical. Which further steps you will discuss?
The political and economic relations with Russia.
Yeah.
Well, you know that we have the stronger package of sanctions, or the restrictive measures against Russia. Certainly, this will be discussed, which are the effectiveness of these sanctions. I am strongly convinced that these sanctions are having a very tough consequences for the Russian economy, from technology, industry, transportation, development of new oil and gas fields. The ministers will discuss about it. Some voices has been asking for reviewing these sanctions, but I don't think it's going to be the mood of the ministers. The sanctions will continue. Thank you.
give a short statement?
Minister, hello. One question on the tourist visa ban for Russian citizens.
Could you give a short
Why
statement,
will
please?
there be why will there be no complete
What are your expectations of today's meeting, please?
I think that it is important to give a clear sign from the family of European Union members that the price to aggressor state needs immediately to be ramped up before the winter fall. We need immediately more sanctions, eighth sanctions package to be worked out. Estonia has made proposals to Commission. Secondly, we need more weapons aid. As much as we do have in our stockpiles, we need to deliver immediately to our Ukrainian friends they have asked. And under the eighth sanctions package, let me stress, we need clearly address the entry of Russian Federation citizens into European Union. It needs to end up. There was 10 million valid Schengen visas to Russian Federation citizens. I think from the moral, from the security, and also from the aiming of sanctions perspective, this is not a case we should accept to continue. By saying that, let me stress that surely there should be a list of exceptions on private humanitarian ground, diplomats, also speaking about the brave members of civic resistance fight against the Putin's terror.
Why do you think it would be efficient to sanction private people, private individuals that are not necessarily supporting the war?
For the reason that these silent private people should also understand that there are consequences of the war. What is literally paid by their tax money are created bombs which now, literally in these moments, killing Ukrainian children and are bombing Estonian hospitals, kindergarten, schools. Let me stress that although legal responsibility is bared by Putin, his inner circle as organizers of aggressor, executioners, whether wearing uniform or not, but moral responsibility is also carried out by Russian society, that they, by their silence, they, by their passivity and acceptance, have in a way legitimized the atrocities, the genocide which is taking place in Ukraine.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sir, can we ask you for a statement, please?
Good afternoon, everybody.
I'm sorry, could you go just a little bit closer to the mic?
Yeah.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm looking forward to a very rich discussion today and tomorrow on the most important issue, which is the EU-Russia relationship and the impact of the war of aggression of Russia against Ukraine. Of course, for Romania, this is of utmost importance. And I will emphasize a couple of things. First, it is important to continue to support Ukraine. And I will present Romania's effort on multiple domains, for instance, on the humanitarian field with more than 2.1 million Ukrainian refugees who crossed our borders. And we have taken care of everybody. Especially another effort, especially important now as far as the other topic on the agenda, EU-Africa relations, the food crisis. We have supported a lot of transit of Ukrainian grain through Romania. As of 17th of August, more than 3.4 million tons of Ukrainian grain have passed through Romania, which is almost a half of the total of Ukrainian grain exports this period. And we will continue with our effort to support Ukraine. The political, the economic, and the support in other areas will continue. I will express concern about the possible effects of the planned referendums to be organized in the occupied regions of Ukraine to join Russia. This is a matter for which the European Union has to be prepared, and I think it's important to start the discussions on this matter as well. We have to continue to support Ukraine in consolidating its defense capacities, and I'm looking forward to the presentation by High Representative Borrell of the results of the debate of the meeting of the defense ministers on the issue of creating a mission for assistance and training for Ukrainian armed forces in order for us to be able to discuss also from the political side, from the side of the foreign ministers. The second important aspect is that we have to continue to pressure Russia. And from this perspective, I will present the position of Romania regarding the issue of banning visas for Russian citizens. We support fully the suspension of the visa facilitation agreement. And at the same time, we will be open to take further decisions in order to restrict the circulation of Russian citizens within the European Union, with accent on visas issued for tourists. But of course we need a solid legal basis, a solid legal ground for that. And we have to be very careful in order not to block the possibility for exposing the young generation in Russia to the European values. On one hand, on the other hand, it is important not to ban humanitarian visas or medical visas, or visas to be granted to those persons who are opposing the regime or who are threatened by the regime in Russia. So we need to discuss all these matters, and after we have all arguments on the table, to take a decision. I have to stress the fact that because Romania is not yet a member of the Schengen space, we do not issue Schengen visas. We issue bilateral visas to Russian citizens. Since the beginning of the year, we have issued a limited number of visas, only around 800, out of which only 130 were visas for tourism. On another matter which is very important, the EU-Russia relations as such, I will stress the fact that we cannot return to business as usual. It is, of course, early to assess what is going to be the future of the relationship between EU and Russia, because it depends on the evolutions on the ground in Ukraine. But one thing is sure, we have to get rid of all dependence from Russia. Another important meeting we will have tomorrow will be with the foreign ministers of Ukraine, Republic of Moldova and Georgia. And this is very important because it is the first such meeting after the crucial decision which was taken by the European Council in June to grant candidate status for these countries. So we have to listen to these countries to learn what are their needs, to provide assistance, to provide technical support for reforms which are needed in this process of becoming members of the European Union. And we have to provide also support for increasing their resilience. Last but not least, Eastern Partnership is important because since the summit last year in December, a lot has changed geopolitically and geostrategically. So we need to think how to adapt Eastern Partnership in order to respond to the new realities, to support reforms in these countries, to support increasing their resilience, to support better connection of these countries with the European Union, and of course to provide more concrete projects to make Eastern Partnership more visible. Of course, EU-Russia, EU-Africa relations, this is important from the perspective of tackling the challenges which are coming from the Russian aggression against Ukraine, especially the food crisis, but also an increased Russian presence in Africa with all negative consequences coming from this point. Thank you.
Because of security reasons and also because we believe that right now, as Ukraine is suffering, as we see the fighting ongoing, it wouldn't be morally acceptable that Russians still are visiting Europe on tourist visas. And frankly, I don't buy much of the argument that by having Russian tourists coming, we are kind of fighting for their hearts and minds. Over the last 30 years, there were millions of Russians, and Russia still behaves the way it behaves. So, knowing how the European Union works, I do not expect quick decisions, but at least serious debate about options about way forward and about the political guidance to the European institutions, to lawyers, yes. So we will insist on having this discussion, and we will insist on having decisions in this matter. How decide this?
Thank you very much.
I already said that we have had 30 years of issuing visas to Russians, hoping that this country is going to change. Actually, the country went to worse. About Iron Curtain, I think that this is not what the EU has put. This is the Russian Federation that has put the Iron Curtain already through its actions against Ukraine, also acting in a way as they have acted in many of the EU countries. And as I said, we do believe that also tourist visa issue is a security issue. Let's not forget about explosion in this country a couple of years ago. By the way, if those reports are correct, and I trust they are correct, those guys were here on tourist visas. Salisbury incident was also on tourist visas. So I don't think that we need such kind of tourists visiting the European Union. And this is quite an issue, of course, in my own country, in Latvia, because we see things very closely, and we think that also countries that are bordering Russia has a say here as well.
Thank you very much.
Would that go so far as to send Russians home that are on different types of visa around Europe?
No,
or
I think that this is not something that we are going to discuss today, but I think that we have to assess those Russians who are working and living in the EU on case-by-case basis. If they are just working and living, that's fine. If they are defending Russia's aggression, then of course each member state should act accordingly. I was just kind of...
I go first in Spanish, and then if you want, I can do it in English.
Good afternoon, Mr.
Good afternoon, sir. Could you give a short statement, please?
Why will there be no complete choice freedom?
So, what are your expectations of today's meeting?
Well, I think today, tomorrow, it's a very important meeting of European Union foreign ministers, and first of all, to maintain the unity for us to support Ukraine is a big topic. Of course, there has happened something very important. The grain trade has started this summer from Ukraine, facilitated by United Nations and Turkey. It's important. And secondly, we have been following the IAEA delegation now, hopefully entering to Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, very important for the nuclear safety. And at the same time, of course, we are discussing about the visa issues and probably the postponement of the visa facilitation agreement, and we hope that there is a unity on this issue here in the meeting. Thank you.
What do you think, Minister Havista? Yes. Question about banning Russian tourists. What does that accomplish?
Well, from the Finnish side, we have noticed that now when the air connections have been cut, there's more and more this kind of tourist route through Helsinki-Vantaa airport. And we are not looking that very favorable in the way in the situation when there is a war in Europe, Russian aggression against the Ukraine, and we have been advocating this postponement of this visa facilitation agreement that will hopefully discussed here. And we have also done our national decision to limit the amount of the tourist visas to 10% of the current situation.
Why do you think there will be no unity, EU-wide unity on this issue of tourist visa ban for Russia?
Well, I think on this visa facilitation agreement, hopefully we find a unity in this meeting. On reducing the amount of the Schengen visas for tourists, I think that's a topic that we first time now discuss here. Some countries like Finland has made their own decisions, and hopefully during the autumn there will be a unity. Thank you.
Madame la Ministre.
Thank you. Thank you. Bon, bonjour à toutes et à tous. Nous nous retrouvons aujourd'hui, vous le savez, pour parler Afrique et Ukraine, dans un format qui permet des échanges directs, comme toujours les Gimniches. Alors, concernant l'Afrique, il s'agira essentiellement de travailler à la mise en œuvre des engagements qui ont été pris par l'Union européenne à l'endroit de l'Afrique lors du sommet Union européenne-Afrique du mois de février, notamment sur le plan financier. Et je voudrais rappeler ici que l'Union européenne est dans le monde le premier partenaire pour le développement de l'Afrique, il faut le dire. Et en parallèle, bien sûr, les partenaires africains sont attendus sur la mise en œuvre de leurs propres engagements, au soutien du multilatéralisme et au soutien d'un système international fondé sur la règle de droit qui nous permet à tous de vivre ensemble. Concernant l'Ukraine, je suis heureuse de pouvoir retrouver notre collègue ministre des Affaires étrangères de l'Ukraine, M. Kuleba, en personne, et de pouvoir poursuivre ensemble dans la durée et dans l'unité. Je l'ai eu ce matin sur un sujet particulier, nous nous verrons tout à l'heure, j'aurai un entretien avec lui tout à l'heure. Je sens que vous avez une question concernant les visas sur les lèvres, et je vais y répondre par anticipation sur ce sujet, donc sur le sujet des visas. Il est important de savoir distinguer entre les fauteurs de guerre, au premier rang desquels le président russe, son entourage, et tous ceux qui soutiennent son effort de guerre, et les citoyens russes, les artistes, les étudiants, les journalistes. Les premiers sont les responsables de la guerre, les autres non. Et cela, nous souhaitons et nous devons continuer à avoir des liens avec eux. Et puis je voudrais aussi rappeler que les oligarques russes sont sous sanctions individuelles. Donc ça n'est pas ceux-là qui viendront faire leurs courses, ni en France, ni en Europe. Voilà, merci à tous, à tout à l'heure. Would you have a question? We will talk about that. That's one of the topics on the agenda. France's belief is that we have to make a sharp distinction between those who are responsible of the war. The Russian president, his entourage, the oligarchs, all those supporting the war effort, and the ordinary Russian people, artists, journalists, students, people that we must be able to talk to and to accompany. So we make this clear distinction. I think that's the basis for an agreement.
The challenge that
Can't hear you.
We will be discussing on how to make sanctions more and more effective. And coming to the issue of visas, we must keep a balance between making sure that no one that participates in the war effort of Vladimir Putin is allowed in European soil, and at the same time to make sure that all those sectors of population that want to know the truth about what was happening in Ukraine, that all those people that want to engage in good faith with us, we remain open to them, because those people are also the future of the peaceful and commonly satisfying relation that the European Union wants to have with the Russian people. Thank you.
How do you make these distinctions? How does everybody arrive at the same formula to make these decisions?
I want to listen to what are the point of view of all my colleagues, but I think we can find the right balance. We must not forget that already there are many sanctions for all of those that participates directly in this unjust and justified war. And at the same time, we can still make it more effective, and I'm sure that we will manage to find the right formula to do it. Thank you very much.
To the same discussion that we had almost half a year ago, where probably even military peacekeeping force that would secure the nuclear safety in and around Zaporizhia nuclear power plant could be discussed and probably is needed.
Are you going to suggest such a peacekeeping mission? For
Yes, I think that it is time that it could be suggested.
Question: why do you think there will be no unity, EU-wide unity on the with the ban for Russian people?
If I think that there will be no unity.
Why do you think there will be no unity?
I don't think that there will be no unity.
You think that Germany and France and some other member states will agree?
I think that we have some very persuasive arguments that we did not have a time to put on the table before. And I think that just the countries, all of them, they issued their first statements. And I'm very much looking for tomorrow's debate.
So could you tell us more about this peacemaking action? We are already
Are you prepared to act unilaterally altogether with the Baltic states?
No. At first, we are. We had already conversation among the countries that share border with Belarus and Russia. We're looking forward to a discussion tomorrow among the 27. I'm still looking for a European solution. That's it now.
Is there any risk to Russian citizens who live in Lithuania now and have long-term visas?
Could you repeat the question, please?
Is there any risks for Russians or Belarusians who now live in Lithuania and have long-term visas?
No, I mean the thing is that it's still, in many cases, it is a European decision. I can just tell you that Lithuania has been issuing visas on a humanitarian basis after the war, and we will continue doing that for Belarusians and Russians as well. Thank you. Thank you.
Minister, question about visas.
Nothing to say. Thank you.
English, German, whatever?
It's up to English preferred.
Okay, well, my name is David McAllister. I chair the Foreign Affairs Committee in the European Parliament, and I'm happy to attend this Foreign Ministers' Council in an informal format, in the so-called Gimli format, because this is important for us in the European Parliament to find out what the 27 foreign ministers are discussing, and on the other hand, I have the opportunity to present the positions of the European Parliament on a number of matters which are being discussed, among others, the EU-Africa relations this afternoon. This is an informal meeting, so no decisions will be taken, but of course this kind of meeting will prepare future decisions to be taken, and I'm also looking forward to the in-depth discussion we will have on the ongoing situation in Ukraine. The situation is very severe. This war of aggression of Russia against Ukraine is unjustified, it's illegal, it's barbaric, and it's about us in the European Union showing continued solidarity with the brave Ukrainian women and men who are defending not only their country, their freedom, their liberty, their people, but they are also defending European values. And that's why we need to continue to grant Ukraine support financially, economic support, humanitarian support, and also to continue to give military aid to Ukraine. I understand that the defense ministers were discussing the idea, the option of a military assistance, a military training mission, and I'm quite confident that also the foreign ministers will green light this support in principle. And then the High Representative will be tasked to present and to prepare a detailed program which then can be endorsed at another level.
What's your stance concerning restriction of visa for Russian citizens?
I think we all agree that on the one hand we in the European Union want to be open for Russian citizens who are opposing the dictatorship of Vladimir Putin, and that we are interested in continuing to have an exchange with civil society, with academia, with media, with the opposition. But on the other hand, we also understand that it's about restricting, granting visas to Russian citizens, those citizens who are part of the system of President Putin, who are actively supporting this war of aggression against Ukraine. I think we will see a broad discussion on this matter, and then as I already underlined, this is an informal gathering, so no decisions will be taken, but I think it will be important for the High Representative to listen to the different positions of the 27 member states, then we work on a common solution. I think it's important that we continue to show unity as European Union among the EU 27. But once again, one thing is clear, that those Russian citizens who are actively supporting this war of aggression, this outrageous war, that I understand that many Europeans have difficulties seeing that these people are still enjoying the way we in Europe live, that they are spending their holidays in the Mediterranean or going shopping in European cities. But once again, what we need is a differentiated approach, and it's about finding out how we can further restrict the granting of visas to Russian citizens. Okay?
Sir, could you give a short statement, please? So what are expectations of today's meeting, foreign ministers?
Well, I was in the previous meeting, of course, of defence ministers, and one of the things that we agreed on was to give the green light now to put a detailed proposal together on, if you like, a new phase of support for Ukraine militarily in the context of an EU training mission, which got the support of all countries this morning. So I expect now that we'll see a lot more detail and an actual proposal that I hope we can approve as early as the end of next month. So Ireland is supportive of that. We'd like to be involved, and we'll work with other EU countries to ensure that we're giving practical support, the kind of training support that Ukraine is looking for. So I suspect that initiative will get support from foreign ministers as well. And then, of course, there will be discussion, broader discussion, in terms of what else we can do from a political and financial perspective to support Ukraine in the face of ongoing Russian aggression that's now into its 7th month.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
way, Commissioner.
Which way?
Du warst mal ursprünglich. wird es keinen EU-weiten Bann auf Tourismus dieser politischen Bürger geben.
Warum? Also, wir wären doch jetzt auf dem guten Weg. Wir haben, Putin ist ein Diktator, ein Kriegstreiber, Kriegsverbrecher und alle, die in seiner Nähe sind, haben wir sanktioniert, weil wir ein Ziel hatten und das haben wir gut hinbekommen. Wir haben individuell sanktioniert und auch keine Videos ausgestellt. Persönlich glaube ich, dass wir in unserem Kopf haben müssen, dass Russland keine Demokratie ist. Die Menschen können nicht wie in allen anderen Ländern der Europäischen Union auf die Straße gehen und protestieren gegen das, was sich abspielt in der Ukraine, diesen Krieg. Also, wenn wir jetzt hingehen und wir kommen von der individuellen Bestrafung des russischen Volkes zu einer kollektiven, finde ich, ist total falsch. Wir lassen dann wieder einen eisernen Vorhang herunter. Wir haben immer gesagt, seit Februar, 24. Februar, dass der Krieg ist von Putin, nicht der Krieg des russischen Volkes. Also müssen wir auf dieser Linie bleiben. Wissen Sie, wir Europäer im 20. Jahrhundert haben oft zu kollektiven Strafen geführt. Das waren keine Regimes, die lupenrein waren. Es ist also, glaube ich, auch jetzt ist der Moment, dass wir es hinbekommen, dass wir sanktionieren, selbstverständlich, all die, die im Umfeld sind von Putin, aber dass wir nicht zu kollektiven Strafen gehen. Das, glaube ich, wäre schlecht und falsch. Das würde den Menschen in Russland.
We are confronted with war on this continent. The question of how we deal with the Russian people, how we deal with issues of a possible training mission of the European Union, and what is very important, the global south. We have debate on Africa, which is very important because this war is also a war of narratives, and we should not forget that this war might be taking place on the European continent, but by no ways this is a European war.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, Scott.
Herr Minister, Österreich und Deutschland stellen sich gegen ein völliges Aussetzen von Visa für russische Bürgerinnen und Bürger. In russischen Medien wird es teils schon ausgeschlachtet als Erfolg Russlands. Ist es eine kluge Idee, so auf dieses weiter wie bisher zu beharren?
Also ich bin ja unglücklich, wie diese Debatte läuft. Ich habe ja schon in der Vergangenheit bei anderen Themen gesagt, wenn wir an die Sanktionen gegen Erdöl denken, dass wir solche Diskussionen hinter geschlossenen Türen unter den 27 führen, bevor wir an die Öffentlichkeit gehen. Dieser Vorschlag wurde halt medial sozusagen auf den Tisch gelegt und ich finde, wir müssen immer zur Kenntnis nehmen, dass wir beobachtet werden, nicht nur von Moskau, nicht nur von Peking, sondern auch von der gesamten Welt, von afrikanischen Ländern und anderen, wie wir uns hier verhalten. Und ich glaube, ja, es braucht eine Diskussion, aber ich glaube, wir sollten sie dort führen, wo sie geführt werden sollte, innerhalb der Außenminister. Und ich glaube, es gibt viele Möglichkeiten, wo wir ansetzen können. Sei es bei den Visa-Facilitierungsabkommen, das kann man natürlich aufkündigen, das kann man diskutieren. Aber wir müssen auch aufpassen, dass wir nicht die Kontaktlinien zur Zivilgesellschaft komplett kappen, dass wir ein Pauschalurteil fällen über 140 Millionen Menschen. Wir haben ein Riesenproblem mit Putin, seinen Cronies und seinem System. Aber die Frage ist, wollen wir ein Signal senden, dass alle Staatsbürgerinnen und Staatsbürger eines Landes betrifft, nämlich Russland, ein Land, das Teil der europäischen Kultur, Teil der europäischen Geschichte ist und das auch in Zukunft unser größter Nachbar bleiben wird.
Ist nicht ein Teil der russischen Zivilbevölkerung, die auch Putins Regime stützt, auch mitverantwortlich für den Krieg?
Und es gilt in jedem System, dass natürlich Menschen das auch mittragen. Aber wo will man hier die Linie ziehen? Wie wird man das machen? Das ist genau eine Diskussion, die wir jetzt führen werden, die wir sehr ernsthaft führen müssen. Es geht natürlich auch um eine wesentliche Signalwirkung und eine Botschaft, die man aussendet. Für mich ist aber halt auch wichtig, dass wir jene Kräfte, die nicht zu Putin stehen, auch unterstützen. Dürfen wir nicht vergessen. Auch wenn es eine Minderheit ist, aber gerade auch wenn es eine Minderheit ist, brauchen sie unsere Unterstützung und dürfen nicht von uns sozusagen im Stich gelassen werden, indem wir die Kettenbrücken hochziehen.
Gibt es auch Zahlen, wie viele Russinnen und Russen zuletzt in Österreich um Visa angesucht haben?
Also die Zahlen sind in den Keller gerasselt, wie zu erwarten, haben sich auch seit 2019 eigentlich nie erholt nach der Pandemie und wir halten jetzt bei nicht einmal einem Fünftel, glaube ich, von den Zahlen, die wir hatten, sehr überschaubar. Also wir sprechen in Wirklichkeit von ein paar Tausend oder ein paar Hundert. Also das ist sehr überschaubar in Wirklichkeit. Das gilt für alle Länder auch. Es gibt ja keinen Luftverkehr, der Luftraum ist gesperrt und dadurch ist der Transport völlig sehr schwer möglich. Also es geht gar nicht um die absoluten Zahlen, es geht gar nicht um die Größenordnung mehr, sondern es geht sozusagen um ein politisches Signal, um sozusagen hier noch einen Schritt zu setzen. Und ich glaube, wir müssen nur vorsichtig vorgehen und nicht versehentlich die treffen, die wir genau nicht treffen wollen, die wir in Wirklichkeit jetzt unterstützen sollten.
Herr Außenminister, Sie haben gesagt, solche sensiblen Diskussionen sollten hinter verschlossenen Türen geführt werden. Jetzt gibt es aber auch das Beispiel in Österreich, dass sich sehr viele Ihrer Parteikollegen, zum Beispiel aus Tirol, der Landeshauptmann Matle, aber auch aus Oberösterreich, der Landeshauptmann Stelzer, dass die öffentlich die Sanktionen in Frage stellen. Haben Sie mit ihnen das Gespräch gesucht?
Also ganz offen, ich lese das ganz anders. Ich habe die Debatte natürlich auch wahrgenommen. Es gibt eine klare Linie der Bundesregierung, die wir auch klargestellt haben, aber die Sanktionen wurden nicht in Frage gestellt. Wenn man sagt, die sollen regelmäßig evaluiert werden, im Hinblick darauf, dass sie in Russland wirken und nicht als Bumerang auf uns zurückfallen selber, dann ist das völlig legitim und das ist auch das, was wir in der Europäischen Union machen. Die Sanktionen werden nicht einfach nur verhängt und dann schaut man nicht mehr weiter, sondern werden regelmäßig evaluiert. Es kommt auch immer wieder dazu, dass das Ratssekretariat zum Beispiel vorschlägt, Personen wieder runterzunehmen oder Entitäten von der Sanktionsliste. Das ist ein laufender Prozess. Es können sich auch die Betroffenen selber beim Gerichtshof in Luxemburg wehren. Das ist der große Unterschied zwischen uns und Russland. Wir sind ein Rechtsstaat. Die Europäische Union ist sozusagen eine Organisation, eine Rechtsgemeinschaft. Da kann man sich auch zur Wehr setzen. Das heißt, das ist völlig legitim und ich finde es auch richtig in dieser Situation. Wir haben immer gesagt, und ich selber habe es ja auch hier immer wieder in Brüssel gesagt und bei den Doorsteps, das ist ein schmerzhafter Prozess. Wollen wir das? Na sicher nicht. Hätten wir es gerne anders? Absolut. Dass wir gegenüber Russland die umfangreichsten Sanktionen verhängen müssen als Europäische Union, die wir je gegenüber einem Drittstaat verhängt haben, das ist ja nicht etwas, was wir gerne tun. Aber ich glaube, es ist A, unumgänglich, es ist alternativlos und B, wenn man glaubt oder wenn wir glauben, und das ist eine Diskussion, die man in vielen Ländern der Europäischen Union hat, dass wenn wir sie aufheben, würde die Inflation zurückgehen, würden die Energiepreise wieder dort sein, wo sie Mitte 2021 waren. Das ist natürlich ein Irrglaube. Der Gaspreisindex hat sich letztes Jahr vervierfacht, Benzin ist um 50% gestiegen, die Inflation war schon im 1. Februar bei 6%, also vor 3 Wochen, bevor überhaupt ein Krieg gestartet ist. Also wir müssen da auch natürlich ist der Krieg ein Brandbeschleuniger, ein Durchlauferhitzer, was das betrifft, aber die Sanktionen aufzuheben, würde eine Verkehrung von Ursache und Wirkung sein, weil das würde dann nicht die Lösung darstellen.
Sie wissen, dass natürlich in diesen Wortmeldungen das so in der Bevölkerung auch teilweise angekommen ist, aber Sie haben jetzt die Inflation angesprochen, auch hohe Gas- und Energiepreise. Die EU-Kommission hat jetzt vorgeschlagen, sich das Strommarktdesign genauer anzusehen, das womöglich abzuändern, Vorschläge auf den Tisch zu legen. Als Bundeskanzler waren Sie im Oktober in Brüssel am Gipfel und damals haben Sie gesagt, wir müssen mal vorläufig jetzt mal nichts tun. Bereuen Sie das jetzt?
Also ich bereue es nicht und ich glaube, dass wenn wir etwas gezeigt haben in den letzten 2 Jahren in der Pandemie, dass Europa in einer Krise flexibel und stark reagieren kann, auch wenn wir am Anfang, das ist völlig normal in offenen pluralistischen Gesellschaften, Diskussionen haben, uns auch selber in Zweifel ziehen, uns fragen, geht sich das alles aus? Und ich bin sehr zuversichtlich, dass wir auch jetzt einen richtigen Weg finden werden. Aber natürlich muss man sich das näher anschauen. Der Strompreis und der Strommarkt ist ein sehr komplexer Markt. Also, dass man hier nur mit einer Schraubendrehung irgendetwas ändern kann, glaube ich, da muss man sehr auch schauen, was sind die Maßnahmen, was sagen die Experten dazu. Da muss man sehr vorsichtig sein, dass man nicht am Anfang etwas macht und dann vielleicht eine Wirkung erzielt, die man gar nicht haben wollte. Aber ich bereue natürlich die Äußerung nicht. Oktober verwechseln wir nicht sozusagen die vergangene Gegenwart und die gegenwärtige Vergangenheit.
Das ist eine Frage, nach der Sie nicht verstanden haben. Sie sind gegen einen Vorschlag wie diese Sperre, aber eine Erleichterung, also für eine Aufhebung der Erleichterung von dieser, darüber lassen Sie diskutieren.
Also das Visa-Facilitierungsabkommen, das wir haben, darüber kann man natürlich diskutieren. Mein Grundsatz ist jetzt einmal ganz grundsätzlich. Wir müssen schauen, und das ist die wesentliche Aufgabe der nächsten Monate innerhalb der Europäischen Union, dass wir unsere Geschlossenheit wahren. Das bedeutet auch, und das ist natürlich nicht schön für die Medien, auch gegenüber der Öffentlichkeit, dass wir diskutieren hinter geschlossenen Türen, dass wir uns einigen und dann an die Öffentlichkeit treten. Das ist jetzt, glaube ich, die mühende Ebene. Das ist schwierig. Es ist immer sehr viel attraktiver, wenn man sofort an die Öffentlichkeit geht und etwas sagt und dann sozusagen eine politische Debatte hat. Ich glaube, das schwächt uns. Und wenn wir jetzt sehen, wie Russland umgeht, wie die Russen das missbrauchen in ihrer Propagandamaschinerie, ist es ja genau das, was wir nicht wollen. Und daher, glaube ich, sollten wir die Debatte dort lassen. Aber ja, wir sollten gemeinsam nach außen auftreten und wir werden auch einen Kompromiss finden. Danke sehr.
Dankeschön.
Good afternoon, sir.
I'd like to say that there is an important debate ahead of us at this informal council organized by the Czech presidency, and I want to thank the Czech presidency and Joseph Borrell for including a discussion on how to engage more globally with our partners in this important situation when there is war in Ukraine. And here I mean the debate about our relationship with Africa, very important from many aspects and perspectives. And second, tomorrow, again, we are discussing the situation in Ukraine on behalf of Slovakia. I'll make very clear how concerned we are over the continued aggression by Russian Federation. I call on Russia to immediately stop their dangerous activity and occupation of the Zaporozhye nuclear power plant. We are absolutely concerned. It's ridiculous that Russian forces are there on the ground in Zaporozhye, that we have to make it very clear that Russia once again quits and leaves this area. And second, of course, I too want to thank both Joseph and Jan Lipavsky for including discussion how we further restrict our visa policy vis-à-vis Russian citizens. In Slovakia, we have stopped already issuing visas for diplomatic and service passports, but I call for a coordinated approach of all Schengen countries or European countries when it comes to how we treat Russian tourists who still, as we see, are seeking travel and visit to EU and Schengen countries. That's it. Thank you very much. Well, I mean, I wish we have consensus, definitely, but we need an extensive debate how to do it. There is a great value in having joint position to that. It's not a race amongst us who is introducing more restrictive policy, who is introducing less restrictive policy. We know once the Schengen tourist visa is issued, then you can travel across the Schengen area, and therefore it only makes sense that we apply the same policy to it, and the basis is consensus on that. Thank you very much.
The other way.
The other way? Okay, thank you. I'm lost.
Miniszter úr, egy kérdés lehet.
Sorry, could you give a short statement?
Most az orosz vízum kérdésben.
Could you give a short statement?
Sorry?
Could you give a short statement, please?
Yes, sure. I answer in Hungarian, just one sentence, and then I answer in English, okay? If you don't mind. Csókolom.
Mi a magyar álláspont a politikótól,
igen,
a
tényleg?
politikótól?
Igen, milyen jól teszik beszélni magyarul.
Mi a magyar álláspont most az orosz vízum kérdésben?
Hát, a mi álláspontunk az leginkább talán a németek álláspontjához hasonlít, tehát nem gondoljuk, hogy ez lenne a helyes megoldás ebben a helyzetben, tehát ebben a formájában ezt nem gondoljuk egy hasznos javaslatot.
És a katonai képzés kérdésében mi a magyar álláspont?
Hát ott pedig az a magyar álláspont, hogy mivel nincsen európai hadsereg, ezért ez egy maximum tagállami vállalás lehet, tagállami feladatvállalás. Minden tagállam maga mérlegelheti, hogy egy ilyenben részt kíván-e venni.
És Magyarország?
Mert nálunk ilyen döntés nem született, tehát most itt hirtelen valaki feldobta ezt a javaslatot, ezt értjük, de hát mi erről még nem tárgyaltunk, ez egy sokkal komolyabb kérdés annál, mint hogy itt most egyszerűen erre gyorsan választ adjon bárki is. De még egyszer mondom, ezt szerintem tagállami kompetenciakörbe kéne tartani, mert hogy nincsen európai hadsereg. Mi ilyen javaslatot nem tárgyaltunk meg, és hát azt gondolom, hogy ezt Európai Uniós szinten nem kellene csinálni. Köszönöm én is. So then in English, okay? If
Could you stay there, please?
then I have to run, right? Very quickly. So I just have a very limited time. Do I understand correctly?
Distinguishable.
Okay. Then very quickly, one question, okay? Yes.
Okay. Just briefly, what's your expectation of this meeting?
Yeah, you also wanted to ask something?
Visa, what's your thoughts on the visa ban for
Visa
Russian
ban.
tourists?
Okay. Look, my expectation is the following. We are a neighboring country to Ukraine. So all the tragic impacts of the war are very serious on us. We have received already 1 million refugees from Ukraine. We are currently carrying out the biggest, largest ever humanitarian action of the history of our country. We are faced with the tragic consequences of the war on a daily basis. We are of course hit by the economic impacts pretty much, and we are faced by the impacts of the extremely growing energy prices as well. So what we want is very easy to express because it's only one word, which is peace. So I really do hope that here, when we enter this room, we will concentrate on decisions which will bring peace, and we will not be faced with any kind of proposals which would escalate the war. So peace is our number one target, peace as soon as possible. And on your question, I don't think that the visa ban is an appropriate decision under the current circumstances. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yes. So, hello. Thank you, everyone. I have just welcomed all ministers and attendees to Gimnich meeting. We are about to begin in a few minutes. As I already said, as you know, we have two topics which we will discuss. First one is Africa and the perception of the European Union in Africa. What can we do in a matter of strategic communication, but also politically, how to top up our influence and how to tackle it with Russian, especially Russian influence in Africa. And the other day we will be discussing Russian aggression against Ukraine, what measures can we do in terms of Russia. The ongoing debate is on visa, touristic visa. This debate is ongoing, and I expect that the political debate will bring us to consensus, on to agreement, which will then be implemented. But of course, we will be discussing another issue like energy situation in the broader sense, and how else can we help to Ukraine and how to tackle the whole situation. So, and today evening I'm hosting ministers at my Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Černický Palác, Černin Palace, where we have informal dinner and short program. So this is what is going on, and maybe we have time for one question, and then I have to move to
maybe two questions. Okay, so.
Is it smart to ban Russian tourists and exclude them from the European Union Schengen area?
We are calling for that since in the times of war there's no place for tourism, but it doesn't mean that there's no place for any kind of movement, and of course humanitarian needs and family reunion and many other good reasons which I hear from different states it's necessary to allow, and I agree with that. So I hope that the compromise will be achieved. The practical problems of northern Baltic states, which they are now solving all their borders, I hope that we will be able to find a consensus that in the end of the day will send a signal to elite in Moscow and St. Petersburg, because those are typical Russian citizen is not even owing a passport. It's elite of the Russian nation which looks from distance to the special operation in Ukraine and thinking, okay, this doesn't affect me in any way. So we should be sending this kind of signal. But of course, I hear different kind of concerns from different states in Europe, but I expect to find a consensus on that. And to keep European unity, because this is a key.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, goodbye.
Ciao.